Hey everybody, this is Brendan, and I'm going to be doing a Modern League here as I continue to practice up for Pro Tour Atlanta, which is, of course, Modern. And I just want to do a quick little look at the deck I'm running. Currently, this is the 75 I used to qualify for the Pro Tour at Grand Prix Pittsburgh. Came in 11th place with this list, and I haven't seen any reason why I should change anything. So I just want to explain a couple of the card choices for Lightning Helix because I uh, want to win the aggro matchups, and I like having more targeted removal in a format full of things like Affinity and Infect and Burn. Two Skull Cracks, because I do like to have that effect available to me in the main deck. Plus it goes straight to the dome. Can't be redirected with something like Spellskite. Um, Most of the people would play 4 Atarkus commands here over these 4 cards. I just like that these cards are easier on the mana. I don't have to fetch for green mana in game 1. And I like that. It saves me life points from having to fetch untapped stomping grounds. Um, and I like Skullcrack because it gives me the effect I want from Atarka's commands, but it costs only red mana, which I find important. I run 4 Searing Blaze. A lot of people are cut this down to like 2 or 3, and I just like the card so much. It's just absolutely one of my favorite burn spells ever because the swing it creates in matchups where you do 3 to their dome and kill their creature, and that's just such a huge payoff for one card. It's just great. I play a single Clifftop Retreat because it's a 16th white mana source, and it's pain free. Comes into play untapped, gives me white mana, and that's always good. Having 16 white sources is important because I do run 4 core firewalkers in my board, and lots of white cards here with the full 8 in the main. So this increases my chance of having double white um, without, you know, having to hold cards in my hand because I don't have enough white mana. I have 16, which is more than most others. And it's actually quite a bit more than most others. You might think, well, Brendan, what are you talking about? Everybody runs the 12 fetches and, 3 Sacred Foundries. But there's a huge difference here because a lot of the other burn decks are using their fetches on green mana. You know, so where they might get, let's say somebody gets 2 fetch lands, they have to fetch for a stomping ground, they have to fetch for a sacred foundry. I can fetch for 2 sacred foundries and, you know, be able to cast a helix and a charm in the same turn. Um, that's important to me. Plus, having 16 white sources makes it a lot easier to cast these firewalkers out of the sideboard. I haven't changed my sideboard at all. Um, Destructive Revelries are very good. Deflecting Palms are very good against some of the unfair decks like Infect, Boggles, the other burn decks, Primeval Titan decks. Firewalker is pretty obvious what it's good against. Zoo, Burn, Skullcrack for the people that try to bring in life gain to combat my strategy. Also times when I just want more burn to the face, like if Searing Blaze isn't very good in the matchup, I can take some out for Skullcrack. Then of course Path to Exile is just a fantastic card. Uh, does so much that this deck needs it to do. Killing Finks, Wormcoil, and the exile there is extremely important. Hitting opposing Firewalkers, hitting Tarmogoyf, hitting Deceiver Exarch. All those super important. So much so that I considered going up to a 4th Path to Exile, taking out a Firewalker, because I feel like my mirror matchup is so good with the 4 main deck Helix. The only problem with having a 4th Path is that it is a reactive card, and I really try not to have reactive cards in my list, but Path, of course, just fills a need, and so I have to play Path. But like drawing two paths is just a terrible feeling, and I have to ask myself, how many paths do I want to draw in a matchup, and if I'm being honest, really, I would rather draw 0 path to exile than 2 path to exile. Um, you know, when your opponent's at 3 and you draw a path, that sucks. When you board it in path because your opponent has big nasty creatures and they're beating you down with a Snapcaster, that sucks. Like you don't want to use a path on that Snapcaster. It just is the worst feeling ever. Or if you have 2 paths in your hand, and your opponent's at 4, that's just terrible. So like I want path, but I don't want to draw very many of them. Like I want 1, and I feel like 3 is the number when you want to draw 1 of a card, and if you want to draw 2 of a card, you play 4. And so um, that's kind of like my little rule, and so I've stuck with 3, and until my testing proves otherwise, I'm pretty much going to stick with just the 3 paths and the 4 firewalkers, because I never want to lose to another red deck. I refuse to lose to red, and part of that is because I have enough respect for red that I know how good red is. Like I'm playing it, I know it's good. I consider it the best deck in the format. And when people are bringing burn to the table, I want to win. I want to beat the mirror match. And you do that with 4 main deck Helix, no green mana needed, um, 4 Firewalkers, and 2 Deflecting Palms. So you can just win the game. Um, you can just win the mirror. I mean, at least have a substantial chance. Right now, most other people, playing against me, a lot of these Tarka red decks, um, to me, I mean, that I want to play against some of these other decks that are burn decks that are running 4 Tarkos commands in the main. Like, I want to play against that. That's what I hope to face up against, and part of that is because I know that I'm bringing in 6 cards that are amazing. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this Modern League and some of these games. If you got questions, comments, I would love to hear them. Thanks a lot.